Art is often regarded as one of the lackadaisical, easy life kind of pursuits, but I find improvement comes better with consistency, self-discipline, and a plan. As such, I'm using the next 90 days, or 83 now, to level up my drawing skills, but the same approach will work for other skills or self-improvement goals. For this challenge, I'm going to be leveling up my drawing skills, since that's important to me. In this video, I'm going to go over the challenge that I made for myself, as well as the goals of it, the tasks, and how I'm planning on completing it. So that is, we'll kind of cover the why, the mindset I'm going into this with, and finally the plan. One big thing I'll be taking into this is the mindset of no excuses from doing 75 hard earlier this year. I think it'll really help with this challenge. And I like the idea of a challenge, but any goal you're working towards could work with this too. I just like having a deadline, set number of days, and set tasks that need to be completed each day in order to complete it as a challenge rather than just a nebulous improvement goal. So the why. Drawing is a fundamental skill of my trade, and I could be better at it. I have a lot of sketches I'm embarrassed of and wouldn't want to show anyone because they're terrible and I hate them. So since this is kind of my job in part here, I need to be better at that, and this is just one way I'm planning on improving that. There are other areas I can improve on in my art and writing, but sketching is such a core skill. I think it's important to build up the core skills rather than something like color theory or composition, because while those obviously can make a better painting, they're not going to improve an underlying bad sketch. And anytime I go into a piece of artwork and there's something off after the sketch and there's something off after the painting is complete, it usually stems from an issue with the sketch that I just ignored or didn't really notice until I had color on top of it. But a lot of mine that I notice are going bad and I'm not sure how to fix. They remain in the unfinished pile in the closet or corner, wherever I happen to be keeping them. The mindset I'm going into this with is incorporating the discipline of no excuses from the 75 hard challenge. It's a lot easier to push through a problem or an obstacle when you've already taken away the excuse of not doing it off the table. So that is what I'm going to be, well, I'm not even going to be trying to do, since failing is not an option anymore. I'm super excited about this challenge, but I know excitement will wane later, so I'm planning for future weaknesses. And that is part of the actual plan that I'll be talking about later on, too. Most of the mindset I'm going into this with is just how I'm going to be dealing with the chaos and unpredictability of life, especially moving, since I'm predicting I will probably be moving before the 90 days are up. But this is also just preparing for bad days or travel days, being sick. You know, there's always predictable unpredictability. So preparing for them right off the bat is better than, crossing your fingers and hoping that in the next 90 days you're just perfect. As such, I have a minimum requirements list, which I'll cover in the plan section. This is especially what I take into one of these challenges, which is just what is the absolute bare minimum I need to do in order to not fail said challenge, and then we'll plan on most days be doing a lot more than that, but it is good to have a lowest tier baseline you can fall back on for days that just aren't going so great. Because as you know, you start a project with motivation, but grit and a plan is how you follow through. And that is how I find approaching projects works better for me, so that's what I'm going to keep doing. So for the plan, I have daily goals, and these ones are technically my minimum requirements list. So they are doing 15 minutes of gesture drawing every day, which is 10 minutes of 60-second gesture drawings and one 5-minute gesture drawing. And then I have to read one section of whatever resource I'm learning from for that week, and I have to film part of the drawing or painting, whatever I'm working on, need to have some filmed record of it every day. So those three are my daily requirements. I also have weekly tasks I want to finish. So for weekly goals, first is having a finished sketch, which pretty much means shaded and signed, as opposed to just the random loose sketches that I do regularly. The second weekly goal is working on a painting every week, and that is specifically working on, not finishing. So I can finish this kind of painting, 9 by 12 in a week, but if I'm working on a larger piece, like what this one is going to be, this one is going to take a lot longer. So I'm working with what I know I can finish in some set amount of time. That one will probably take 3 weeks to 4, depending on how it goes. Should take hopefully 3 weeks and no longer. But saying that, I know I'm not going to be getting that one done in a week, and if I did, that'd be problematic. It would probably be pretty garbage. So I'm not going to have completing a weekly painting as one of my tasks. Just working on a painting every week is a good enough requirement. Also, the third thing, which is kind of a looser weekly goal, is just to keep up with my weekly learning schedule. This is a Notion workbook that I've made for this task or for this challenge. It just has per weeks or bi-weekly goals or things to focus on for studying, and I'm just going to keep to that, and I'll just check it off as I get through the weeks. For creating part of that schedule, I use ChatGPT in order to create a basis. Of course, ChatGPT doesn't do very much for more in-depth schedule, but it is really good for creating an outline and finding resources, which I wouldn't have otherwise known about. So now I have a basic outline from that, and I refined it to something that would work for me. So this I'll have as a downloadable Notion template if anyone is interested in doing their own 3-month challenge. Well, I am posting this after the first week, so the sketches here are how it's going. I started this on the last few days of phase 1 of the Live Hard challenge, which is an extension of 75 hard. But the first few days here were definitely the hardest to juggle. So leave a comment below if you've done a 90-day challenge or 30-day challenge or 75 hard specifically. I'm interested in other people who have done that too. Well, that's all for me. Ciao ciao for now.